You've been searching for me for so long, so I have come. But wait, it's not me you seek, is it? No, it's the girl. I should be offended. But how can I be? You're not the only person who wants her power. There is another, one far more deserving. One who can offer rewards you could never imagine. So sorry, but you've been outbid. Fear radiates from you. It's beautiful, but not yet finished. I am Stefano, and now you are my art. Son of a bitch!
Hello, the following review is for The Evil Within 2. However, I must warn you guys that I am sick right now at the moment, but this review has been written up a while ago and it's kind of just killing me that it's just on my computer, not really going anywhere. So I'm going to record the review even though I shouldn't because I'm sick. So fuck it, let's go. Evil Within 2 was released on Friday the 13th in October 2017, about 3 years after the first game. The Evil Within 2 was developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks, the same duo responsible for the first game. The difference here now is that the sequel was directed by John Johannes, while Shinji Mikami took a backseat as a producer. The game begins with a flashback where Sebastian Castellanos is approaching his home being engulfed in flames. As he gets closer, he realizes he needs to save his daughter. When he finds his way into her room, he wakes up at a bar at the bottom of a glass. We find out that he's been unable to adequately cope with what happened at Beacon. Not too soon afterwards, a character from the first game, Kidman, approaches him and tells him that they need him to save his daughter. Sebastian finds out that his daughter actually hasn't been dead all these years, but rather she was kidnapped and her death was faked. Also, Mobius could have the perfect core to power the STEM machine. So once again, Sebastian is thrown into STEM and this crazy dream world that went wrong, but this time it's to save his daughter. Alrighty, fuck. Here we go. Yeah. The story of The Evil Within 2, much like everything else, is an upgrade from the first game. While in the first game it was really hard to get a grasp of what was going on up until the ending, in this game the plot is clear and you know exactly what's going on. That's not to say there's a few twists and turns along the way, but the overall sense of the plot is grasped at the beginning. Get in the machine, you save your daughter. There's also a lot of allusions to Shinji Mikami's past works, but they feel like they're their own here. For example, Mobius is essentially the umbrella corporation of the Evil Within universe. In Resident Evil, the Umbrella Corporation is this mega powerful corporation that has headquarters all over the world that take part in some shady, over-the-top experiments that lead to some batshit crazy events. Because the Evil Within universe is still young, we don't have too many examples of that just yet, but Mobius is made out to be a powerful organization that isn't as public as Umbrella, but their reach is just as powerful and influential. The whole point to perfecting the STEM machine is to connect minds together. Mobius wants to advertise it as a medical breakthrough, but in reality, to connect everyone's minds together so Mobius could just control them. You'll encounter people that work for Mobius that will shed more light on them and their power and how they got to work for them. Strangely enough, the lore for Mobius in the game is well crafted in that you get a good sense of who they are, but not enough information for you to write a detailed report on. Mobius will retain that air of mystery by the end of the game, in that you know who they are, but not really.
Skin and bones, eat. Gotta eat. Skin and bones. Gotta eat. Clean your plate. Gotta eat. Skin and bones. I said eat! There.
Mobius faked the death of your daughter because they needed a core for their STEM machine. They experimented with someone that was just a complete sociopath, which was the first game. That was the whole thing of the first game. And obviously it didn't work. So they needed someone completely innocent, and Sebastian's daughter ended up being the perfect candidate. They set fire to the Castellano home and then they faked her death. However, out of the blue, problems occurred and the machine became unstable for reasons that I cannot mention because they are spoilers. So with the machine unstable, Mobius needed their core back so when they start fresh, their core would still be intact. However, the only person that could save their core that is stable enough to use the machine is Sebastian Castellanos, who had survived his last encounter back at Beacon. This time around, Sebastian Castellanos has gotten a complete personality remodel. He's no longer this monotone, cool guy, McGee. This time he's a real human being with real emotions and all that jazz.
Hey, Kidman.
What can I do for you, Sebastian?
Beacon. My life was skidding off the track before I went into that place. Being inside Ruvik's head like that. I haven't been the same since. They tried to tell me it was all in my mind, but my mind couldn't have dreamt up the things I saw in there.
You don't have to remind me. I was there too.
Yeah. Your pals in Mobius didn't have any problem putting you in danger, did they?
Maybe. But if I wasn't with you, we might not have made it out alive.
There are times when I'm not sure I ever made it out. And now I'm in another stem.
And I'm still with you. We're going to get out alive. Just like the last time.
I hope you're right about that.
However, because he's been through something similar before, he does retain that sense of I've been here, I've done that attitude. With the involvement of his daughter, but the fact that he's gone through this shit before, it's a wonderful mixture of old and new Sebastian that fans of the first game and newcomers can appreciate.
Please forgive me for what I've done. Please forgive me for what I've done. Please forgive me. Oh my God. Please. I know I've sinned, but not this. Please. I won't sin again. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for what I've done.
Hello?
Please forgive me.
Are you okay?
Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Oh God, please. Please.
As opposed to Sebastian being the same guy from beginning to end in the first game, in this one he goes through an emotional transformation. It's not significant, but it's there. His role as a father is more and more believable as he goes on. When he first sees his daughter, he's almost lost and confused, and who wouldn't be? Someone tells you your kid is dead and you deal with it for years on end, and all of a sudden they're right there in front of you. Of course you'd be like, oh, shit, you're my dad. I'm your dad. As he goes through the game and accepts that she is indeed alive and he's the only one that can save her, he becomes more and more regretful that he let Mobius take her, that there is so much time that's been lost, that he didn't believe his wife at first. And all this regret and guilt is actually used as a weapon against him by a certain enemy Sebastian encounters. By the end of the game, he knows that he has to let go of all that regret and guilt if he wants to save his daughter. So not only is this just a journey to save his daughter, but a personal journey to save himself. There are so few games that really make me feel emotional, and The Evil Within 2 was one of them. And I think it was just this one scene where Sebastian is crying to his wife while holding their daughter that really just got to me. It wasn't emotional just for tension and drama. I went through these two shitty journeys of Sebastian. I saw the guilt. I saw how hard he fought for his daughter. I saw him where he started out as some like Max Payne style alcoholic. Kind of like that scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey is crying as he watches the video messages from his kids. Objectively, you could give a shit. But when you put yourself in his shoes and realize like, oh my god, my kids are growing up without me. It's that kind of moment of sympathy that really got to me here in The Evil Within 2.
Shh. Just promise to take care of the little one. Never let her forget how much her mother loved her.
Myra, there's so much I want to say to you.
You don't have to say anything. I've been watching you all this time. I know how you've suffered, what they did to you, what I did to you. You didn't ask for any of this. And you've been into hell twice for it. It's time for you to leave now. To live the life that was taken from you.
I love you, Myra.
I love you too. Both of you. That's why I'm doing this. But there's no more time. You have to go, now!
It's just crazy how in the first game he was just this cool, gruff man without much of a personality. And in this game, he's instantly one of the most memorable characters for me in the survival horror genre. He's not all glum though. He has his moments of humor that got to me during the first game. Like I said in the review for the first game, people tend to joke about me that I'm pretty monotone and things don't scare me much as, you know, they annoy me. He continues that trend here and I laughed and I appreciated it. At one point, he's in a church and he's attacked by the monsters in the machine. And if you go to the door to just leave if you leave the church, Sebastian just goes, nah, fuck that. Which was actually... oh my god. Which was apparently so funny it almost killed me right now. There are other moments where he's just indifferent. Some creepy monster ghost thing will keep going after him and be like, again? This needs to stop. What does it want from me? The game also features a few other decent characters. You know, the main one, besides Sebastian, being Julie Kidman. She was in the first game and introduced as Sebastian's protege in the police department, but she turned out to be a Mobius agent. I can't say too much about Kidman since I'd like to avoid spoilers, but I can say that she actually has a personality here. In the first game, she was just a blank slate. It's like a plate with nothing on it. It was just a flat personality and nothing else. And here, she's finally shown to be more caring and sympathetic to Sebastian's endeavors. In the beginning and towards the end, Sebastian will contact her often to update her and to find out what he should do next. She's essentially his handler in the real world, while he's, messing around in the dream world. There's also two main villains in this, neither of them being Ruvik, the villain from the first one. You've got a photographer and a cult leader, and you don't really make too much contact with the first one. By the time you actually make contact with the photographer, you realize he's just a crazy artist that kills for art. However, the cult leader is where Sebastian is truly tested. The cult leader found a way to bend the world of STEM to his will, so he will constantly push Sebastian to the brink in order to convince him to join him. But for someone like me who really digs the villains in most stories, the villains here, they weren't too exciting. In the overall story, Sebastian and his personal journey took the cake. The audio of the game is wonderful. The music is suspenseful and it's there. There's actually a track that really made it all come together at the end of the game. The title of the track is called Making Your Way Home, actually.
Can't let her take Lily. Is that our house? She must be there. I can't stop now.
It comes on as you're, making your way home. It's just a nice little emotional song that really tugs at your heartstrings because you're so close to the end. In a way, it reminds me of the song Compass in Red Dead Redemption. While you're riding home to your family, it's nowhere near as good, mind you, but it's in the same vein. You've been through all this shit, and this song was perfect to just go, all right, it's been a tough journey, but you just gotta go on a little bit longer. Voice acting in this day and age has gotten pretty standard, and I have no problem with it here. Sebastian took the cake, as I mentioned before, in that one scene where he's crying to his wife. He legitimately sounded like he was in pain. I should mention that the voice actors from the first game did not return for either Sebastian or Kidman. So if you play the games back to back, it might be a little jarring, but in time you'll get used to it. At first, I did wish they brought back the same voice actor for Sebastian, but when I saw that scene where he's crying to his wife, I knew there was no way that last guy would have made that scene work as well as it did here. The guns sound great. The enemies sound like monsters. All in all, there's really nothing wrong with the audio. When it comes to visuals, the game is no longer a visual buggy mess like it was in the first one, but that doesn't mean there weren't still problems. Assets, levels, characters would still load in real time, so you would see shit go from like smooth to detailed, but it was nowhere near as bad as it was in the first game. The characters are more detailed than they were in the first game, and it's astonishing to see the difference when you play both games back to back the way I did. The levels are bigger too, so for there to be less problems with the visuals, it's impressive. I had no problem with the frame rate. The screen tearing happened very rarely. Again, in the first one, it was just all over the place. In this game, I couldn't tell if there was a single factor that would cause it, because it happens so rarely. So, all in all, the visuals, although not perfect, they are clearly an upgrade from the first game. Alright, when it comes to gameplay, this is the Silent Hill Resident Evil crossover I never knew I always wanted. After my first few hours of gameplay, I thought of that and realized, oh my god, it's what I've always wanted. I wanted that open world, creepy atmosphere of a small American suburb, but the action mechanics of a Resident Evil. The game is still survival horror though, so ammo is limited regardless of how potentially action oriented you can get. I played the regular difficulty, and from my experience, so long as you're not firing rounds carelessly into the air like an idiot, you'll have enough ammo for your encounters. Much like Silent Hill, when you first enter an area, it's a giant area that you can explore. For example, when you first enter the machine, your first open world area is basically this giant neighborhood. Your objective is on a specific point in the neighborhood, and you can either go directly to that objective, or you can explore the entire neighborhood and essentially get yourself in shenanigans via side missions. Side missions will often reward you with potentially new weapons, green gel, or weapon parts, and just overall tell you more about the Evil Within 2 universe. The entire game is not like this though. There will be moments where it's just a straightforward hallway, like in the first game where you go from point A to point B with no ways to deviate from the path. The game is a third-person shooter and pretty easy to grasp from the beginning. Like in the first game, the green gel is once again responsible for upgrading Sebastian's abilities, but this time the upgrade tree is a lot more detailed and can actually correspond to a specific playstyle. For example, I maxed out my stealth abilities because I preferred to save my ammo and use stealth to clear an area. However, the same way that the open world can become one-way hallways, areas that involve stealth can quickly become areas that need confrontation. So just because I maxed out my stealth abilities, it didn't mean that I could just take it easy from there on out. Now I had to worry about my combat abilities. While in the first one, green gel was the way to upgrade everything, in this sequel, the green gel is specifically only for Sebastian, but now there are weapon parts to specifically upgrade your weapons. In addition to that, there are also components you can gather to craft ammo, so you won't always have to count on enemies dropping ammo. There's a nice little mechanic where if you craft ammo on a workbench, it requires less components. But if you try to do so in the field, like if you try to craft ammo while you're out there in the middle of like this little neighborhood, it's going to require more components. It forces you to really handle your business in your safe house before you run out into the field. The Evil Within 2 also has a nice variety of enemies to fight. You have these disgusting humanoid enemies that resemble what they used to be, and they're basically zombies. That's basically what it is. And then you have enemies like this giant camera on legs, a giant laughing woman with a saw, some dude in a gas mask with a flamethrower that is constantly apologizing to the cult leader. I honestly didn't really leave the game really thinking about any of them, but they were definitely fun to fight and scary to run from at the time. All in all, The Evil Within 2 is a surprisingly impressive sequel to a game that really divided. I mean, for the first game, you either loved it or you hated it. The Evil Within 2 is a game that rewards fans of the series by bringing back certain images from the first game and making them thematically relevant, but also allow for newcomers to enjoy a brand new story, a brand new chapter in the life of Sebastian Castellanos. The story was good, but Sebastian really shined. The audio was good, but Sebastian really shined. The visuals still have a few errors and bugs in here and there, but overall it's an improvement from the first game. The gameplay made me realize it's something I never knew I wanted. When I first pre-ordered the game, I was excited. I love survival horror. I love that balance of not being in control and having the power to fight back. Resident Evil 6 had tipped it to one side, and games like Outlast had tipped it to the other side. That balance had been gone for a while. And after playing the first game, I loved the idea, but I knew it was still missing some stuff. I believed in the idea, and although the first one wasn't a home run, I invested in this company by pre-ordering the sequel, The Evil Within 2. I believed in their vision before, and I was blown away that they were given a second chance with the sequel. I didn't need a trailer to convince me to pre-order this, and the first hour I played, I realized I made a great $60 purchase. I realized that it was worth it. This was totally worth it. They not only kept their vision from the original, but improved on their mistakes. Sebastian was an indifferent, sarcastic man, and now he has a personality that made him 100 times more memorable. The story was kind of a mess in the first game, and in this one, it's a lot more clear. The gameplay was easy to get used to in the first one, but now it's a lot more refined here. I'm glad it was improved, and I'm glad that nothing felt like it came out of a compromise. These are the single-player games that deserve our money. This could have easily been a rehash of the first game with a different story, with same mechanics, same visual problems, same characterization, with slightly better graphics. But no, it was actually an improvement. If you liked Resident Evil 4, if you liked any of the Silent Hill games and thought, I wish I had a bit more power here. If you like horror games, I recommend The Evil Within 2. You don't have to have played the first one, since this isn't a direct continuation of that storyline. It's just referred to as an incident throughout the game. However, I do think you should, because it makes Sebastian's transformation so much more powerful. And if you haven't played the first one, by the way, it's not the worst game ever, and it's always on sale. And that being said, The Evil Within 2 is an insane improvement, and I'm glad that they did. And that's not to say it's perfect. There's still a lot of room for improvement. So I'm looking forward to the third game. I really am. So anyways, for me, The Evil Within 2 gets a 9.
Is this meant for me?
Out of 10.
Thanks. Don't know if I could have done that on my own. I'm Esmeralda Torres.
I'm...
Sebastian. I know.
You do?
It looks like we got him for now. We should make a move before more show up.
How did I wind up here? And who are you?
No time for 20 questions. My safe house isn't too far. We can talk on the way there. Come on. Take whatever you need inside. I'll be out here.